Good morning. It is 9:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name's Chris Hand. Show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. If you need a water filtration system or a water softener, you get that at betterwater.com. You can listen to us in a number of ways: the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, the FM dial. You can watch the show as well. We are live on Super Talk TV, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, where we ask you to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. Every platform has one, so that way we can spread this show as far as it can possibly go. I need your help to do it. Thank you in advance. Hit like, hit subscribe, all the things. So Joe Biden has cancer. Joe's got cancer. And I'm like, we're watching CNN in the studio. You know, Murphy leaves CNN on. I know he was off Friday, so it's been like just days of this CNN rolling in here. And I look up and, you know, the lower third, Chiron, where, you know, it says what they're talking about. It said, it almost made me lose my mind. I'll be perfectly honest with you. It said, cancer touches us all. Cancer touches us all.
Oh, no.
So the media wants us to feel bad for Joe Biden and his cancer diagnosis, and I just can't. I can't. Do I wish him a speedy recovery? Sure. Do I want the cancer to take him out? No. But I'm not going to waste a moment of my life feeling bad for a man that has destroyed this country. I'm just not. And maybe you heard a moment ago in the cross, it was like a little preliminary go off. But how am I going to feel bad for this guy? Honestly. Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungaray, Rachel Marin, just a few of the names of individuals that have been personally affected by Joe Biden's wide open border policy. The families will never recover. They're not getting anybody back. He was a trash president. From how he handled the border to how he handled the economy and everything in between, foreign policy. I mean, we can go down the line. He was a garbage president, and we're still cleaning up the mess from him. I have to feel bad for this guy? Oh, cancer touches us all. Oh. Do I have to shed a tear for this man? The man who was taking inappropriate showers with his daughter at an age that was a bit too old? What happened in those showers? Are we not allowed to ask that anymore because Joe Biden came down with cancer? The man who raised a son to become a degenerate drug addict. So he wasn't just a trash president, he was a trash father. He was a trash husband, too. You can look into that as well. So I have to feel bad for this? I'm not going to feel bad for Joe Biden. I'm not. In fact, I think that we need to go the opposite route. How long did you know that Joe had cancer? And when were you planning on telling us? Because I think that they've known for actually a lot longer than they're letting on, to be perfectly honest with you. So Joe Biden has prostate cancer. It's an aggressive form of prostate cancer. And I'll be honest with you. You should have caught that a lot sooner. Prostate cancer, one of the easiest to diagnose when it first starts. You can watch it. The PSA blood test that he should have been taking every single year, even with the most aggressive form of prostate cancer, it's a 5 to 7 year journey without treatment before it becomes metastatic. So they would have been committing malpractice for not diagnosing this. If he showed up and the first sign that they noticed was in May of 2025, that's medical malpractice. Medical malpractice. I don't believe them for a second that this is some new diagnosis. What I think this is just another political opportunity to try and make the public feel bad for Joe Biden, because at the same time that we get the cancer diagnosis, we're learning just how bad his memory was. The Robert Hur audio tapes are coming out. We're finding out just how bad everything was behind the scenes. Everything was that bad. So no, I'm not going to feel bad for Joe Biden. I just can't. There's nothing in my body that will allow me to do it. Nothing. And I mean, I'm seeing some of the texts after, I say a couple things and people are like, oh, you got to pray for your enemies. I'll pray for them. I'll send them a prayer. I'll send a prayer up. Just like I said, I'm not hoping that it takes him out. I'm not gleeful that he got diagnosed. I'm just not going to waste a moment of my life feeling bad for the man. I can't. So how long did they know? Well, just moments ago, on MSNBC. We had an individual by the name of Dr. Zeke Emanuel, and he's sitting down with Morning Joe, and he said, guys, they absolutely knew Joe Biden had this cancer while he was president. And this is on MSNBC of all places. Give me a little audio there. Oh, it's freezing. Hang on one second. Let me see if I can fix this real quick. This happened moments ago on MSNBC, where Dr. Zeke Emanuel said, no, this isn't. Yeah, I'm not getting any audio out of it. No. Man. Yeah, it's not working for me. Anyway, Dr. Zeke Emanuel was on MSNBC, and he said he didn't develop this in the last 100 days. He didn't develop this in the last 200 days. He was developing this while he was president, and he probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. He goes, I don't think there's any disagreement about that. Doctors understand what time it is. They know. And I think it's time that we start asking the question, when do we investigate the White House doctor? Honestly, Congress should immediately go after White House physician Dr. Kevin O'Connor. Dr. Kevin O'Connor said in February of 2023 and in February of 2024 that Joe Biden was a beacon of health. He was just a shining example of one of the most healthiest presidents we've ever had, and that he was fit for duty. There was a letter on February 16th, 2024 that said Joe Biden was fit for duty, yet now we find out that he has prostate cancer. Now we see the Robert Hur tapes where he couldn't even remember when Donald Trump was elected, when he left office, and when his son Beau died. Who was running the country the last 4 years? And are we going to let this cancer diagnosis take our eye off the target? I don't think we should. I think, in fact, this should make us go even harder. Okay, so if he had memory issues and he was coming down with cancer, who was running the show behind the scenes? And who was it that was pushing Joe Biden to run? Why? What was the game plan? Were you planning on just like many individuals theorized that once Joe Biden won an election in 2024 that he would be removed and Kamala Harris would be installed? It seems like that might actually have some truth to it. You know, if I recall correctly, it was one Laura Loomer, and I know how people feel about Laura Loomer. She can be a bit. I don't know, how do I put it, abrasive, but it was in July of 2024 that she was saying that he was having medical emergencies on Air Force One, that they were flying back to D.C. From Vegas at a breakneck pace, that things were bad, and that this diagnosis was real. That was in 2024. Plus, we also had audio when Joe Biden was dropping out. His brother Frank said this is right after he dropped out. CBS News read a statement from Joe Biden's brother Frank saying, I'm just looking forward to spending whatever time we have left with Joe. Okay. So they had no idea that he had cancer. I feel like a lot of individuals knew that Joe Biden had cancer. Listen to this. This is 2024, right after Joe Biden drops out. Man, once again, my audio is just bugging on me. It's been bugging for a little bit. We'll restart the computers in the break and see if we can get it back up and running. No big deal at the end of the day. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the conversation. CNN was doing their absolute best to cover for Joe Biden all weekend long. They were teeing up David Axelrod in conversations about Biden's cognitive issues, saying that, we should move away from those conversations now because he's struggling through this. And I say to hell with that. We are not going to just forget the last 4 years because they conveniently timed a cancer diagnosis to coincide with the release of Jake Tapper's book. I'm not going to do it. I'm not. Joe Biden needs to be held accountable for these last 4 years. I don't care that he has cancer. I don't. He needs to answer for what he did in this country. And that administration needs to answer for what was happening behind the scenes when Joe clearly was not fit for the job. In more ways than one. The White House doctors need to be investigated. The people running his team need to be investigated. And we need full transparency on this. I don't feel bad that Joe Biden has cancer. I don't. This man has brought too much devastation to this country for me to shed one tear for him. Not one. From the border. I mean, do you remember he went to Hawaii after kids burned up in a fire and said, my house almost burned down too. My house almost burned down too. I almost lost my Corvette. We're supposed to feel bad for this guy? No. I'm not going to do it.
Come on, man.
I won't. This is one of the biggest cover-ups in American history, and they're going to try and blind you from the fact that they were covering it up with feelings. They want you to feel bad. And I say no. I say 100% no. We need investigations, we need clarity, and we need transparency immediately. And I hope that the Republicans have some spine to get that done. But I won't hold my breath on that. Let's be perfectly honest. The Republicans got a lot of things that they need to do right now. And I don't have much confidence in them to get the job done. This is a scandal of epic proportions. Monumental proportions. Who was running this country? Who was running the country? Was it Antony Blinken? Was it Jake Sullivan? Was it Susan Rice? Was it Barack Obama? We need these answers. The American people demand these answers. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, he has cancer now. It's time to move on. It's time to move on. Ah, poor guy. Listen, that's not what we need as a country. We need answers. And Joe Biden should be held accountable regardless. But this story is insane. The way they dropped it, the way they snuck it into the news, insanity. Absolute insanity. The timing of it all, so convenient, deliberate, methodical. They knew exactly what they were doing, the Democrat Party. This is all coordinated. And they're doing it to take your eyes off the ball, which is the cognitive decline of Joe Biden behind the scenes at the White House. How long was it going on? Who knew? Who covered it up? Don't take your eye off the ball. Don't take your foot off the gas. We demand accountability. It's 9:19 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We've got the important White House phone call that's taking place right now. Also, whether weather communications are being hampered today, even as we're getting storms today and tomorrow, too. We've got those stories coming up here at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. 925, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Got a text here from 8961. It says, what does it matter who knew he had prostate cancer when he was in office? The fact that you don't care he has cancer speaks volumes of your character. None of that garbage matters anymore. The country needs to move on. Nobody disliked Biden and his administration more than I did, but I could care less about what went on at that time. We need to concentrate on helping fix this country, not continue to beat a dead horse in the face. Well, I tend to disagree, actually. We had the leader of the free world who is absolutely incapacitated behind the scenes because of his cognitive decline. And then we find out that they were lying about a cancer diagnosis. At least that's how I'm viewing this, that they covered up and lied about a cancer diagnosis. So what was the game plan? I think it actually matters quite a bit. Were you going to wait until Joe somehow won an election again and then install Kamala Harris as the first female black president? It sort of looks like that's what the game plan was. I think it matters a lot. I do. I think it matters a lot. What does it matter when they knew? Well, Dr. Zeke Emanuel was on MSNBC moments ago this morning, Morning Joe, and he says they knew for a long time about the cancer.
You're an oncologist, obviously incredibly respected. You believe that it is likely, just for those just tuning in, you believe it is likely if this prostate cancer has spread to the bone that he could have had it for up to a decade, but certainly it's likely. Would it be fair to say it's likely to have had this for at least several years?
Oh, more than several years. You don't get prostate cancer.
So I just want to stop you. So this is not speculation. If you have prostate cancer that is spread to the bone, then he's most certainly, you were saying, had it when he was president of the United States.
Oh, yeah. He did not develop it in the last 100, 200 days. He had it while he was president. He probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. Yes, that I don't think there's any disagreement about that.
Oh, all right. Well, what does it matter? What does it matter when the White House doctor is telling you that the president is fit for duty? And he's not? It doesn't matter? We shouldn't ask any questions? We should let it go. Joe has cancer. Okay, you understand how hard that is? We need to be sending thoughts and prayers his way. I'm sorry. I just can't. I'll say a prayer for him. I will. But I also want to pray for justice and an investigation into what was happening behind the scenes. I think that we need to focus on that just as much. Because you go back, you go down the rabbit holes, and I did this last night. You find a lot of weird stuff, like when Joe Biden dropped out, right? When listen, it's the best decision. It was stunning and brave. He was dropping out of the presidential race to allow Kamala Harris to go in. We had this weird statement from Frank Biden, Joe Biden's brother, when he dropped out. And in this statement, if you listen closely, maybe there's something in there that gives a hint that individuals knew about this diagnosis a while ago.
CBS News had a brief conversation with Frank Biden, one of President Biden's two younger brothers, and here's what he told us. He said, "I'm incredibly proud of my brother. Selfishly, I will have him back to enjoy whatever time we have left."
Oh,
he is a genuine-
whoa, right there. Selfishly, I'll have him back to enjoy whatever time we have left. Whatever time we have left. That's interesting. And then there's another clip that I found. 2022. Joe Biden is giving
windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick.
Yeah, so
the
he's,
window.
Listen to this. In this press conference where he's in Delaware, I believe, he says, "I have cancer." Joe Biden
because
does.
it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, My mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
Oh.
And why can't for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
That's why I and so many other people I grew up with have cancer. That was in 2022. Oh, it was just a gaffe. It was just that sharp as a tack president misspeaking once again. Don't ask questions. No. And we're not allowed to look backwards. We have to move forward, right? I don't subscribe to that one bit. It's 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's now 9:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. There is a crash in Arrington this morning, Murfreesboro Road at Cox Road, and also in Murfreesboro on Northwest Broad Street near Thompson Lane. Watch for the scene of a crash there as well. In the news, President Trump will speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin today about ending the war in Ukraine. In fact, that phone call should have already begun. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt on that call.
The president has made it clear his goal is to see a ceasefire and to see this conflict come to an end. And he's grown weary and frustrated with both sides of the conflict. The president and his team have put an enormous amount of effort in solving this very complicated war that, again, began because of the last administration's weakness.
President Trump will also reportedly speak with Ukrainian President Zelensky today. There's been an arrest in the case of a man whose body was found dead in a car that had crashed near Belmont University last week. Metro Nashville police say 24-year-old Jordan Smith was an acquaintance of Dana Corley, and he was charged with his murder. Smith reportedly robbed Corley and then shot him as he drove away. In Clarksville, dive teams are resuming a search today for a missing 12-year-old.
Police are saying that they were called to assist with a water rescue at the Billy Dunlap Park. A father reported his son missing just before 2 yesterday afternoon. He told first responders his son was last seen in the river.
WSMB4's Alexandria Adams. In the meantime, Billy Dunlap Park, Robert Clark Park, and the Blue Way are closed. Thunderstorms already arriving in the Nashville area today. We're expecting more storms tomorrow. They'll be stronger than today's. And just as we're in the midst of these spring storms, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, says it's performing an update on its weather radio transmitters, so the system will be down in Middle Tennessee for today through Wednesday. Be sure to have a backup way to get your weather alerts. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
937, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Am I being too harsh? 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. Am I being too harsh on the doddering old man with memory issues who has now come down with cancer? Am I? I mean, I got a few texters think I'm being too hard. Got a couple texters think I'm not going hard enough. So it's a mixed bag on the text line. So I'm wondering what you think about all this news around Joe Biden. 615-737-9986. Now, I know what the media is going to do because it's been on full display already. What the media is going to do is they're going to say we can't be mean to Joe Biden anymore because now he has cancer. Guys, we can't worry about the disastrous withdrawal of Afghanistan and question that anymore. Joe Biden has cancer. Guys, let's not talk about inflation and the absolute robbery of the middle class that took place during the Biden administration. He has cancer. Okay, I know that Joe Biden forced a vaccine on you, and if you didn't take it, you were going to lose your job. But you're not allowed to say anything anymore because Joe Biden has cancer. He's got cancer now. So you can't bring that up. It's not kind. You understand that, right? We have to really think about Joe, and we got to think about these feelings. But the media is already gearing up to do that. David Axelrod was on CNN, okay? David Axelrod, who you'll remember, big-time Obama guy. David Axelrod's on CNN, and he literally said that we have to move on. We have to move on from these conversations about Biden's cognitive issues because, well, he has cancer.
His medical condition now, his announced medical condition now, do you believe that silences or delays a lot of conversations about his, last year and a half of his presidency for now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think those conversations are going to happen, but they should be more muted and set aside for now as he's struggling through this.
Oh, the conversation should be more muted and set aside now that he's struggling through this. And I just say, no, sir. No, I'm not going to let you emotionally manipulate me into not talking about the disaster that was Joe Biden's presidency. In fact, I think we need to go a bit further. So who was controlling that auto pen? Who was pulling the strings behind the scene? Who was the puppet master? Because we know Joe Biden wasn't steering the ship. I think that these questions become even more demanding of answers than ever before. Carl is on the road, wants to talk about Joe Biden, 615-737-9986 if you want to join the convo. What's up, Carl?
Hey, Big Chris, man, thank you for taking my call. I'm sitting here and I'm just pondering. First of all, don't be mad at people that are criticizing or even saying hateful things about Joe Biden. The worst ones are the Democrats because they knew this, and they're using this as a political tool. And both of my parents died of cancer, and I've had two brothers die of cancer. And, of course, they were heavy smokers or heavy drinkers or both. But, can't people say what they want to say? I do pray every day. I pray to God I have no hate in my heart, although I have hated Joe Biden. I'll just be honest with you because of his actions. But more importantly, I do pray to not have that. I don't want anybody to die or go to hell and die of cancer and have cancer. But, let's just be real here. The Democrats are dishonest, and they're using this as a manipulation. I read where someone had said, I'm just curious why this came out now just when they released the Her tapes.
Yep. Yeah, it's way too convenient, Carl. Way too convenient.
It really is. And I just wish, and the other thing I want to say, I just remembered this, is about Donald Trump. Tell me, everybody knows this. They all wish he had his brains blown out with that bullet. But I never said I want Joe Biden to die of cancer.
Right. Yep. You're absolutely right, Carl. And I appreciate the call, man.
Thank y'all very much, man.
Hey, thanks so much. 615-737-9986. No, I don't want Joe Biden to die of cancer. Though, if the shoe was on the other foot, you can rest assured many liberals would be cheering for the death of Donald Trump, much like they've been cheering for the death of Donald Trump since that assassination attempt in Butler. It's a great point that Carl made. They've all been hoping for it, praying for it, wishing for it. We understand that. I mean, even after the James Comey stuff on, last week, the seashell death threat, you have liberals out there championing that. They love it. But you're going to see the media try and move the goalpost once again. We're not allowed to talk about this. Joe Biden has cancer now. It's tough. It's tough. Brian Stelter was on CNN, and he said, when it comes to the cognitive issues, and now this is before the cancer diagnosis, he said when it comes to the cognitive issues, the media was facing a reckoning.
The White House press secretary used the phrase cheap fakes, the idea of cheap fakes. Let me explain what that is to people. We've been worried for years about AI deep fakes, that computer-generated images are going to trick people into believing something that's totally false. Cheap fakes are a little bit simpler. They're cheap. They're just distorted, out-of-context videos, chopped up in certain ways, constructed in certain ways. That's what we're seeing. That's what the Biden administration, the Biden campaign is so worried about right now. But make no mistake, they are worried about this. This is a real problem. This is not some made-up fiction. The videos are oftentimes made up, but the problem is real.
Yeah, the problem is real. The problem was real. The media is facing a reckoning. Yet this cancer diagnosis comes out conveniently, right when they can then move the goalposts, right when this book is about to be released. It does make you think that they've been sitting on this for a while. And it was, in case of emergency, break glass, and we'll roll out the cancer diagnosis.
Cheap fakes.
You know what I mean? Does it feel like that to you? Because that's what it feels like to me. It feels like something they've been sitting on, and it was like, oh, now's the time. Break the glass. Honestly. So now that we know how bad Joe was behind the scenes, all of this information is coming out. The Her tapes are being released, and people are asking questions like James Comer over the weekend, who was in control of the auto pen during Biden's time at the White House.
You are going and looking at who is controlling this auto pen, because Joe Biden, he's demonstrating that he doesn't have all the cognitive capabilities they had. That interview was from 2023.
Yeah, that's hard evidence. Early in the President Biden's term as president, it clearly shows that he was in significant mental decline. It questions who was actually making the decisions. So what we found is not just with the pardons he issued, but many of the executive orders that the courts are now using to Trump-proof many of the executive orders that President Trump is trying to implement to make government more efficient. Many of these executive orders, as well as the pardons of Biden's entire family as a result of our investigation, these were all signed with the auto pen. And clearly from that interview, which was many, many months prior to the heavy use of the auto pen, Joe Biden wasn't capable of making decisions. He wasn't coherent. We think we've identified who the staffers are. Jason, you all have done great work with that over at Heritage Oversight. We're going to bring everyone that we believe was involved in any role in the use of the auto pen. We're going to invite them to come in for a transcribed interview. If they want, then they will receive a subpoena and they will have a full-blown deposition. But we want to find out who was actually making the decisions in the White House during the last 9 months of the Biden administration when he was clearly in mental decline.
Yeah, clearly in mental decline, yet you're going to have Democrats now saying, well, we can't ask those questions. He has cancer. Have a heart. These heartless Republicans investigating a doddering old man with memory issues who now has cancer. Can you believe that? They're going to frame it that way, that we're heartless, that we're cold. And I say, screw that. We demand answers.
It was from 2023.
We demand answers. Donald Trump was asked about this. Now, this is, again, pre-cancer diagnosis. Trump is on Air Force One, and he says, we have to get to the bottom of what happened, because you can look at Joe Biden, and you knew something was off.
That are 89, 90, 92, 93 years old that are literally perfect. But Joe was not one of them. And they did a lot of hiding. They were They were really playing games, and you can't do that. Our country's at stake. You see, even a thing like this, there's so many decisions for billions and billions, but then you have even more important decisions. You have decisions for life, and you can't have a man in that condition. And everybody was holding back, including the press, including the media.
Yeah, everybody was holding back. Everybody knew what was going on. Those staffers knew. Those officials knew. Anybody in that cabinet knew. They were holding back. They were lying. That was Donald Trump. Again, this was pre-cancer diagnosis. He did release a statement on the cancer diagnosis saying, hey, our thoughts and prayers are with Joe and his family, wishing him a speedy recovery, and that's all well and good. But I don't think that is going to deter Donald Trump from wanting to get to the bottom of it. It's not. In any shape or form. And this is just the beginning of this conversation. We're going to see more and more of this as the week goes on. We're going to see the leftist media trying to pivot away from the crimes of the Biden administration and the cover-up of the Biden administration. They're going to lean on the emotional manipulation of the cancer diagnosis. And you're going to see the Republicans and conservatives say, to hell with that, we still want answers. And I'm in the camp of, to hell with that, we still want answers. I hope that he recovers. And Lord willing, he can, because personally, I think that he needs to be held accountable for what transpired during his administration. You can't if he doesn't recover. I want him to recover because I'd like to see him in a courtroom for some of the things that he did personally. Maybe that's too harsh. Maybe it's not harsh enough. What he did to this country is unforgivable. The wide open border, the Afghanistan withdrawal, the inflation. We can go on and on and on and on. But now we have to look the other way. He's got cancer. Oh, nope, not me. But you're seeing a lot of Democrats out there trying to put the spin on it. You are. Jim Clyburn was with Jake Tapper over the weekend, and he said, do you think that Joe Biden would be able to perform as president for another 4 years? And Jim Clyburn, I don't know, he must not have got the memo, because Jim Clyburn is on State of the Union with Jake Tapper, and he said yes, he thinks that Joe Biden would be able to perform as president for another 4 years. This is just the current state of the Democrat Party.
Do you
listen to Jim Clyburn here?
Think that Joe Biden really would have been able to perform as president all the way through January 2029 when he would be 86?
Yes, I thought that back then. I still think that, but I don't know that. When people ask me, did I know this or did I know the other? And the fact of the matter is, no, I didn't. And you make my point here. So it's not all about age. I've seen people develop Alzheimer's when they're in their 30s and 40s. So it's not about age. It's about the ability to do the job. And I never saw anything that allowed me to think that Joe Biden was not able to do the job.
Oh, nothing.
Just that.
Nothing at all. There wasn't one instance where I thought Joe Biden wasn't able to do the job. The Democrats, I don't know how they recover from this. They're still trying to spin Joe Biden as an effective president. Unbelievable. 9:51. Super Talk. 99.7 WTN.
We've got the local doctor calling the timing of Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis into question, and the Tennessee town that's being called the volunteer state's best small town. Those stories coming up here at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom. Timing is everything. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Hey, real quick, couple dates to write down and put in your pocket. Thursday, we're going to be doing the show live at the one and only Glock store.
Let's go.
Looking forward to that.
Nice little pre-event before the big event.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
See what I did there? Yeah, it's pretty bad. And then June 17th, we have our Super Talk mid-year review. This is going to be a fun party. The entire squad is going to be down at King's Dining and Entertainment in Cool Springs. And we're going to talk the first 6 months of the Trump administration. And we're also going to be throwing down with y'all. This event is going to be free. Again, it's Tuesday, June 17th, King's Dining and Entertainment in Cool Springs. Join us for fun, food, drinks, games. We're going to be broadcasting live. The whole crew is going to be there. Myself, Mandis, Murphy, Benson. Admission is free. And the place is huge. It's massive.
Oh, yeah. It's absolutely massive.
So there's room for everybody. June 17th, King's Dining and Entertainment, mid-year review with Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Details are online, 997WTN.com. Okay, so the timing of the cancer diagnosis comes after the release of the Robert Hur audio tapes, which I'm sure is nothing more than a coincidence. Take off your tinfoil hat, you conspiracy theorist. Yeah, it's a coincidence, all right. So Axios got their hands on the Robert Hur tapes. And the Robert Hur tapes are bad. They're real bad. In fact, it's so slow and it's so slow and dysfunctional, I would say, his brain at the time during these tapes. Like, we can't even really play you a lot of it because there's so much dead air in between when Robert Hur asks a question and when Joe Biden answers. But I want to play you a little snippet of that. This is Robert Hur interviewing Joe Biden, and Joe Biden can't remember when Trump was elected, and he can't remember when his own son died.
So during this time, we were living in Chambers Road, and there were documents related to the Penn Biden Center or the Biden or the cancer finger shot or your book. Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying.
So in 2017, 2018, his son had been deployed or is dying. That was 2015, Joe. Yep. This is the emergency that they're using the cancer diagnosis to cover up. Who the hell was running the White House from 2021 to 2024? These are questions that we still demand answers to, and Lord willing, we'll get them at one point or another, sooner, hopefully, rather than later. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. Yeah, it's 10 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Couple of rounds of potentially severe weather for us here in Middle Tennessee. Stefano DiPietro telling us that today's thunderstorms will have a low severe weather threat.
Now, tomorrow, the severe threat is much more widespread, and it's much more elevated across the mid-state. Most of the area at a 3 out of 5 on that scale.
This time around, in both cases, there won't be any overnight severe weather. These will be daytime storms. Police in Rutherford County still trying to determine what happened before a man was found shot to death in a car sitting along the side of I-24 Sunday. Traffic was backed up for miles on the eastbound side of the interstate approaching Waldron Road in Laverne as police investigated. No other details released about that man's identity or the circumstances surrounding his death. The Mexican Navy vessel that slammed into the Brooklyn Bridge over the weekend will remain docked in New York for now while an investigation goes on. Meantime, the structural integrity of that bridge has been confirmed.
277 people were on board. A female cadet was among the 2 killed. Her family gathering in Mexico yesterday. One relative saying there must be someone responsible. The NYPD says the ship never intended to sail beneath the bridge, but it lost power. The tides then forced the ship in the wrong direction, hitting the 141-year-old bridge while traveling backwards.
ABC's Andrea Fujii. There are new questions after former President Joe Biden was diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer that has spread to his bones. Dr. Manny Sethi at Vanderbilt Medical Center speaking with Dan Mandis this morning.
Something definitely doesn't add up. I don't understand. You don't just wake up and get diagnosed with such an aggressive form of prostate cancer. I think that's very rare, especially the former president of the United States.
Saying it's likely that Biden would have been given a prostate test during his yearly exam with the White House doctors. Biden's spokesperson says that they learned about the cancer after doctors found a nodule on his prostate last week. Sentencing is set for September for former Tennessee Speaker of the House Glenn Cassada and his former Chief of Staff Cade Cothran. They were found guilty on all counts of fraud, bribery, theft, conspiracy, and money laundering while in office. Both are released on bond until their sentencing, but it is likely they'll both appeal their verdicts. And Gatlinburg has been named the best small town in the volunteer state by World Atlas, noting its magnificent views, a bustling downtown, and lots of outdoor fun. Gatlinburg sees about 14 million visitors a year. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 10:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Been talking a lot about The convenient timing of Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis, and how I do think that they've been sitting on this for a while, and it was in case of emergency break glass, and we'll tell everybody that Joe has cancer. That there's no reason that they shouldn't have caught this cancer diagnosis sooner. And the only thing that makes sense to me is that they were sitting on it to change the narrative when they needed to. Now, those Robert Hur tapes dropped, and we played a clip of it earlier, and he didn't know that his own son died in 2015. He had no idea. In fact, he said, so this was 2017, 2018, so my son had either been deployed or was dying. And it's like, no, sir, that was about 2.5, 3 years before that. This is the guy that's running the country. This is the guy with the nuclear launch codes. And we're supposed to now turn a blind eye to that because, well, he has a cancer diagnosis. And well, I just won't. I don't think that we can. If you remember, after the Robert Hur interview, when everything came out, Kamala Harris was one of the first individuals talking a huge game about how this isn't okay. Joe Biden is awesome. He's very, very smart, sharp as a tack. And the way Robert Hur characterized this is disgraceful. This was Kamala Harris right after that interview took place.
And what I saw of that report last night, I believe is, as a former prosecutor, the comments that were made by that prosecutor, gratuitous, inaccurate, and inappropriate.
Yet, here we are, and we know, based on the audio, that Kamala Harris went out behind that podium and lied to the American people to their face. She was a heartbeat away from the presidency for 4 years, and had things not gone our way in November, we'd be dealing with Kamala right now. And you know what else we wouldn't be learning? Well, we wouldn't be learning anything about the Robert Hur interview. We wouldn't have that audio. We wouldn't be learning about the absolute mess that the Biden administration left this country in. It would be status quo, which would be bad for the American people. By the grace of God, that did not happen. Thank you, Lord. But it wasn't just Kamala Harris. Joe Biden himself went out in front of a podium and was very upset with Robert Hur saying he was a doddering old man with memory issues who would be too sympathetic to a jury to be able to convict. This was Joe Biden himself on those interviews.
There's even reference that I don't remember when my son died. How in the hell dare he raise that? Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, wasn't any of their damn business.
Oh, it's not any of your damn business, says Joe Biden. Yet we know now from the Robert Hur tapes, Joe was thinking in 2017, 2018, his son had been deployed or was dying. Yet that happened in 2015. Joe went out behind a podium and lied to the American people. I'm not surprised he lied. It's just good to point out, based on the evidence we have now, that without a shadow of a doubt, he lied to the American people on this. Let's go back to the Robert Hur tape. This is him forgetting when Bo died.
So during this time, we were living in Chambers Road, and there were documents related to the Penn Biden Center or the Biden cancer cure shot or your book. Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying.
Oh. But wait. So that's in direct conflict with what Joe Biden said behind the podium, right? Like, hold on. Play the clip of Joe Biden behind the podium one more time. He said 2017, 2018, that was when my son had been deployed or was dying. It was 2015.
There's even reference.
So this is Joe behind the podium.
There's even reference that I don't remember when my son died. How in the hell dare he raise that? Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, Wasn't any of their damn business.
Oh, yeah. Tough guy Joe. Wasn't any of their damn bit. He couldn't remember. Yet this farce of an administration carried on. Who was running the White House? The American people are going to demand answers. This is the biggest cover-up in American history. Let's be perfectly honest. The cover-up that we saw of Joe Biden inside the White House with cognitive decline and the minions around him protecting him and running cover, it is the biggest cover-up in American history. He had no business being behind that desk. We knew he had no business being behind that desk. And the media and the Democrats gaslit us the entire time. Cheap fakes. It's not even, the video's been manipulated.
Cheap fakes.
Has this audio been manipulated of Joe Biden in 2022 giving an interview to Robert Hur, not knowing when his son is that also a cheap fake?
Cheap fakes.
Is that a cheap fake? Is Axios now producing cheap fakes? Is that what we're getting?
Give me a break.
Yeah, maybe. This is just another example of how devastating the Biden administration was for this country. They didn't give a damn about the American people. Not one tiny bit. Wild, man. It's wild. This is going to be a story that's not going to go away for a few days at the very least, as much as the Democrats would like it to disappear. And the Democrats would like it to disappear. We had a clip over the weekend. It's David Axelrod, Van Jones, and Jake Tapper, and they're sitting together on a panel. And the three of them are really trying to create the illusion that they had no idea what was happening behind the scenes with Joe Biden's mental decline. Tapper even makes sure to shout out his new book during all of this. You know, the one guy who's looking at all of this and he's rubbing his hands together, that's Jake Tapper. He just sees book sales in his rearview mirror, and when he looks in front of him, he sees book sales. All of this is book sales for Jake Tapper. So he's on a panel with David Axelrod and Van Jones saying, guys, we had no idea that this was happening behind the scenes.
You were on the record in 2022 voicing concerns about Biden's age and ability. Whom do you blame for the decision of him to run for re-election and the decision to hide his declining abilities as much as they were able to?
I mean, the easy answer right there on who to blame is Dr. Jill Biden. Let's be perfectly honest. I still think that Dr. Jill needs to be brought up on elder abuse charges. But let's let the clip continue. Who do they blame on the cover-up? Oh, is it freezing on you?
Well, look, at the top end, you have to blame him because he made the decision. But he was, and your book reflects this in many different ways, he was shielded by a coterie of advisors and his family. They were in this confirmation bubble, and they tried to shield the world from his decline, and they tried to shield him from his own standing and his polling numbers and so on. And so at the end of the day, I have to point the finger at the people around him who didn't do him a service by encouraging him to continue. I think it was obvious to the public. It may not have been obvious to a lot of politicians. I actually think it was, but it wasn't politically wise in their judgment to speak out. But it was obvious to the American people, even before that debate, that the president was just too old. He would have been closer to 90 than 80 if he had won re-election, and he already was showing decline. So I blame the people around him because real loyalty.
Yeah, but I blame the people around him. I think that there's a lot of blame to go around. Yeah, people around him do deserve some blame, David Axelrod. But so do you. So does the media. The media didn't investigate this one little tiny bit. They gaslit us. They lied. They said it was cheap fakes. We know the story. It's the people around him. It's his family that deserves the blame on the cover-up for this cognitive decline. The media is just as guilty. The mainstream media, the leftist propaganda wing of the Democrat Party, they covered this up intentionally because, well, orange man bad. They literally put this country in a very precarious position by having a doddering old man with memory issues who is too sympathetic to a jury to ever be convicted on the classified documents case and let him sit behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. It could have been so much worse. By the grace of God, it wasn't worse. But it could have been so much worse. And yet, they don't want to take any responsibility for the media's role in all of this.
And it's hard when you work for President Jake to tell them hard truths. But real loyalty demanded that they say, Mr. President, it's just not there and it's not in your interest. And it's better for you, the country, and the Democratic Party if you leave now.
Van, I remember how emotional you were in the immediate moments after the June 27th, 2024 debate because of what you saw on the stage. And with all this new reporting coming out, and I should disclose that I gave both of you copies of the book. So
Got to plug the book. Got to plug the book. Oh, the story that nobody knew was happening behind the scenes with Jake Tapper. Has he responded to our interview request yet?
Unfortunately, no.
No. Jake doesn't want to take any responsibility for what happened. I like how he called out Van Jones for crying. Didn't everybody cry when Joe Biden stepped down? It was stunning. It was brave, and it was one of the most heroic things.
It was empowering.
In the history of the country, right? It was heroic.
Oh, absolutely.
It was heroic. How does Van Jones see things now?
I have a little bit more information. Do you feel like you were duped, Van? Like, how do you feel?
Do you feel duped? Do you feel duped, Van? Do you feel duped? If you feel duped, what you really need to feel is stupidity. You are dumb if you are duped by this administration. Van Jones.
First, this book is extraordinary.
I'm learning so much. Who would have guessed that this guy was, pooping his pants near the Pope and stuff like that? Who could have seen that coming?
I don't care who you are, left, right, or otherwise. Anybody who cares about this country and about just the dynamics of power, this is the emperor's new clothes playing itself out in real time. Everybody knew, but everyone was afraid to say, except for David Axelrod for 2 years, that something was wrong here. And so, I was shocked. I love Joe Biden. I don't like him. I love him. I got a chance to work with him when I was a part of the Obama administration and loved him more every day. I was shocked to see his condition when he came out, and so was the world. And that wasn't the first time he was in that condition. The book makes it very, very clear. There are people who knew and said nothing. And that is a crime against this republic. And I think the Democrats are going to pay for a long time for being a part of what is now being revealed to be a massive cover-up.
There were people that knew and said nothing. Van, you are one of those people. Jake Tapper is one of those people. David Axelrod is one of those people. Every member of the media, the mainstream media, the leftist media who gaslit us and lied to us and said Joe is sharp as a tack and running circles around us, lied to us. I had no idea. You missed it when he was shaking hands with dead people? Did you miss it when he was calling out into the crowd for the deceased? Did you had no idea? Had none. We missed it. We must have missed it. And now that we have this cancer diagnosis, we're not allowed to ask any more questions because, feelings. Feelings. This is the greatest cover-up in American history. This is an insane story. And I think that we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg here. There's going to be a lot more to come out in the coming days. And we're going to be covering it very, very closely. When we get back, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel sat down and gave a pretty wild interview with Maria Bartiromo on Fox News. And we'll bring you the highlights of that. Plus, Donald Trump sat down with Bret Baier. We'll have that on the way in the show as well. A lot more to cover. It's 1021 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand from my friends at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. You hear us talking about these guys all the time, and if you're living with back pain, knee pain, neck pain, nerve pain, well, it's time to stop doing that. You see, the Wellness Institute of Nashville can change your life with non-surgical, drug-free treatments that will actually target the root cause of your pain. So you can forget the pills, you can skip the surgery, because these guys specialize in non-surgical spinal decompression. This is a high-tech therapy that will actually heal your spine and your nerves naturally. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley will handle everything for you. Dr. Mitch, he's trained all over the globe. Dr. Ashley, expert in holistic healing and advanced chiropractic care. So whether you're dealing with sciatica, neuropathy, or herniated discs, they have real solutions for you. And for a limited time, the Big 47 deal still going on. That'll land you 47% off your non-surgical spinal decompression. So don't waste another day living in pain. Call the Wellness Institute of Nashville today. 615-246-5009. That's 615-246-5009. The sooner you call, the sooner you heal. Painisbad.com.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
House Republicans advance President Trump's big, beautiful bill. And a Franklin judge put serious restrictions on a woman he releases from jail. That and more coming up here at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand, 1025 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. Love those guys. BetterWater.com for your water filtration system. You can listen to us anywhere. iHeartRadio, tune in the FM dial. You can watch us. We're live on Super Talk TV, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit share. We appreciate it when you do. Got 4 kids. They want to go to summer camp. I said we need more likes. So it's really on you at this point. It's just, I've told them plenty of times. Out of my hands. It's out of my hands.
Your not so teeny tiny little hands.
not teeny tiny hands. Big hands. Huge hands.
The biggest.
So we got a new FBI. Dan Bongino, Kash Patel sitting down for an interview with Maria Bartiromo over the weekend. And a lot of people getting a little bit upset about this interview. The main thing that they're hanging on was Dan Bongino saying that Epstein did, in fact, kill himself, which, listen, maybe he did. I don't know. I don't necessarily buy it. But a lot of people are pointing at that and saying it's the same old same. Yet this FBI is saying, no, it's not the same. Kash Patel wanted to make it perfectly clear during this interview the difference between him and other leaders who have sat in this seat before him.
And unlike other leaders who previously sat in these seats, we don't prejudge any case. We don't care What party elected you to what? It doesn't matter to us. It's irrelevant. If you broke the law, we are going to find out and we are going to investigate you. And then we are going to discuss that matter with the Department of Justice. And this is one of the things that, if your viewers take away nothing else from this interview, the FBI does not make prosecutorial decisions. You asked in the beginning how the FBI was weaponized. Well, the FBI hijacked the constitutional responsibility of the Department of Justice and the Attorney General, and James Comey and others specifically decided what cases to prosecute and not prosecute. Don't believe me? Go to the videotape in the Hillary Clinton investigation. We don't decide prosecutions, and neither does any agent or intel analyst. We have great partners under General Bondi. We work with them and discuss the matter with them, but the prosecutorial decision is with them.
Listen, I love the fact that he's just leaning on procedure and trying to get the FBI back to where it is. There's also part of me that doesn't trust Pam Bondi and this DOJ to do what needs to be done. But I think that we do need to give them a little bit of time over at the FBI. They said it multiple times during this interview. Guys, we're walking and we're chewing gum. Like, everything's a priority. Bongino went down the list. And he's like, yes, Russiagate's a priority. But you know what else is a priority? Stopping cyber attacks on American infrastructure. Yes, Epstein is a priority. But you know what else is a priority? Stopping terrorists on the homeland soil. And so they're saying that, yes, everything is a priority, but we're doing all the priorities at once, and you need to be patient. And I do understand that. I do. But Bongino got excited, man. They started talking about illegal immigration, and Bongino is excited to target some pedos.
You said illegal alien criminals and child predators are next in your ongoing crackdown.
Oh, yeah.
How are you going to do it?
I mean, do you hear that? Listen, did you hear that? Oh, yeah. Now, I know today we don't have the video on the screen on the stream, but if you watch Bongino's eyes during that interview, he said, you're going to go after child sex predators, and he went, oh, yeah. And his eyes just bugged. Do you see him bug out of his head?
Dude, yeah, he's ready.
Oh, my gosh, I'd be nervous. I would be nervous if you were doing stuff like that and you knew Dan Bongino's coming after you. All right, reset that clip, play the whole thing through. He's talking about going after illegal aliens and child sex predators.
You said illegal alien criminals and child predators are next in your ongoing crackdown.
Oh, yeah.
How are you going to do it?
The illegal immigration problem with 20 million people came in. Yeah, okay, most of them probably were here to work in it, but a lot of them weren't. They were here to traffic in kids and fentanyl.
Yep.
If you were here illegally, the administration's approach, which the director and I have actioned through the agents in the field, is, listen, I'm speaking a bit hyperbolically, but correct me if I'm wrong, right? You're the lawyer. We're giving you about 5 minutes to cooperate. If you're here illegally, 5 minutes, you're out. Title 8, AEA, whatever we've got. We're not wasting an agent who's making, a decent salary, who we train. We're not wasting 3 weeks of his time to beg you for information for a proffer. We're not. We're kicking you out. The president's going to seal the border.
Thank you. We're not wasting 5 minutes on you, says Dan Bongino. But it's his comments on the child sex predators that I really want to get into. You heard how excited he was to talk about it when Maria Bartiromo mentioned it. He hit it with a, oh, yeah. Sounded like Macho Man Randy Savage a little bit, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And he was intense. He had a lot more to say about that, including what to expect if you are a child predator under this new leadership at the FBI. We'll bring you that clip when we get back. It's 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 10:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Could doctors have missed diagnosing former President Joe Biden's aggressive prostate cancer while he was in office?
The aggressiveness of the prostate cancer, a 9 or a 10 is very severe. And as you noted, you would catch that with a very simple PSA test. Anybody over 50, males over 50 usually were supposed to get, these PSA tests every prostate exams and then these PSA tests. So this would have been caught.
That's Vanderbilt's Dr. Manny Sethi speaking with Dan Mandis this morning. His comments come as many are questioning if the Biden White House hid the diagnosis from the American public. President Trump's huge tax cut and border security package advancing out of a key House committee in a rare Sunday vote. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt on one of the provisions, Medicaid reform.
We want to see able-bodied Americans at least working 20 hours per week, whether that's part-time or full-time, whether that's even looking for work or volunteering for 20 hours a week if they are receiving Medicaid.
House Speaker Mike Johnson set a Memorial Day deadline for a House vote on the massive bill. A judge dropping the charges against a Sumner County school bus driver who drove her bus into a creek and hit a bridge. 5 students were injured. The judge has approved adding 3 points to her driver's license, but dropped the charges of failing to exercise due care. And a judge in Franklin has determined that Angie Solomon can be released from jail on bond before her trial for plotting to kill her ex-husband. But she'll have to wear an ankle monitoring device and she'll be on house arrest. Solomon was arrested last month after reportedly attempting to arrange for a hitman to kill Aaron Solomon, a former WSMV4 TV anchor. The judge in the case denied her request to go to her daughter's high school graduation. That is the latest news. We've got your weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at United Structural Systems. You know them as USS. When it comes to home repairs, especially waterproofing, which if you have an issue with, you're like looking at the rain like, oh gosh, here we go. It's kind of easy to ignore the warning signs. I mean, a little water in the basement, damp walls after you rain. You hope it'll just go away, but these small problems never go away. They never stay small. And that's where United Structural comes in to give you that peace of mind. USS has helped over 30,000 homeowners across Middle Tennessee and Kentucky. And when they show up, they're not sending a sales guy, they're sending an expert. They're not worried about their quota. They're worried about that problem at your home, whether it's waterproofing or foundation. If it is waterproofing, man, don't ignore it, because that water is going to turn into mold, wood rot, foundation issues. It's only going to get worse. Don't let it. Call USS today. Whether it's foundation repair or waterproofing, USS will stand behind their work with warranties you can trust. These guys are locally owned, 30 years in the game, here for the long haul. So if you see the signs, don't wait. Call USS today. 615-488-7855. 615-488-7855. Online, USSTN.com. 1036, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. So I watch Sundays, I just dive into show prep. And I watch everything as much as I can. And I got to tell you, the best interview on TV all weekend long was Maria Bartiromo sitting down with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino discussing essentially a new order over at the FBI. You know, we got a new sheriff in town. And Maria Bartiromo had asked Dan Bongino, you know, going after illegal aliens, going after child sex predators, and Bongino's eyes bugged out of his head, and he got pretty excited when it comes to going after child sex predators.
You said illegal alien criminals and child predators are next in your ongoing crackdown.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know why, but that got me excited. I think, and this is just me, this is just my personal opinion. I know it would have to go for a vote and stuff like that. I think child pedos deserve wood chipper feet first, personally. You know,
Oh, yeah.
personally, right? Would you agree with a wood chipper feet first approach to child sex predators?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? We'd have to, there'd be some hurdles, right? We'd have to go through the right channels. Do it by the book, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Wood chipper feet first.
Oh, yeah.
So Dan Bongino says, we're coming after you. We are. And he said, hey, if you're a child predator and you get a knock at the door, spoiler alert, it's not Amazon. No, it's not Amazon at all. Oh, you got the audio there?
Or it's on Amazon. That's going to be us. This is a huge job. And Maria, not only does it destroy innocence, I said to everyone in the room, said week 2 or 3, when Kash and I put Restoring Justice together to go get these mutts off the street, these kiddie pornographers and these animals, right? I said to everyone in the room, I said, you know why this is going to matter to America? Because everyone in the room is a child or a parent, right? Yep. There's no immaculate conceptions here, right? I love Jesus, but there's no one in the room, right? I said, this matters. And not only that, it creates generational crime because abused kids then become abusers in a lot of these cases. I said, we have a chance right now. I said, we got to go make their lives painful, these bad guys. And we went and we locked up in a month, 400? We saved 115 kids. And you haven't even seen the beginning because those 400, a lot of them are talking. And when you log onto that network next, you have no idea what we're doing. You think you're safe in your dark web? I promise you are absolutely not safe. You have no idea what we
Let's go. Yeah. Let's go, Dan Bongino. Yes, we do need to be going after these child predators. And he's absolutely right. It creates generational crime. If you are abused as a child, you are far more likely to abuse children when you become older. That's just the nature of the beast. So when he says that what we're going to do is stop generational crime, he's absolutely right. And this problem is so bad. And let's be perfectly honest, it was exacerbated under the Biden administration because of the open borders and because of the human trafficking and child sex trafficking that took place because of the wide open borders. But, hey, can't say anything bad about Biden now. He's got cancer, right? Let's stop asking questions. You're not allowed to say it. Let's just thoughts and prayers. Don't question anything Biden did. No. What Biden did was damn near criminal, allowing that invasion to take place, and it put many, many kids in harm's way. And there's a lot of evil people in this country that have no issue with these crimes. Bongino is going to be going after these people, and I say thank you for that because it's so widespread. I don't know. Maybe you watch Sean Ryan podcast. A lot of people like Sean Ryan. He had Tim Tebow on the other day, and I'm a huge Tebow fan. He puts out some good books, and he puts them out in like a kid version and then an adult version. So I'll read the Tebow books to my kids, and it's good. It's actually like really good stuff. But Tebow has been like a crusader against this. I don't know. Like a lot of people don't think of Tim Tebow and think child sex crime like hero. But he is. He's bringing a lot of awareness to this through his Tim Tebow Foundation. And he's not playing games. So he's on the Sean Ryan show, and he just lays out exactly how many predators are in this country distributing and manufacturing child porn. And it is vile how bad this issue is. Like, death penalty for pedos, when? When can we get that done? Listen to Tim Tebow explain how bad this problem is in this country.
This is over the last 30 days, and every red dot on that map is at least one unique IP address of individuals downloading, sharing, distributing child abuse and images under the age of 12.
Now, let me just say, that map is a map of the United States, and it is full of red dots. Like if I didn't tell you anything and I showed you it with all that red, you'd say, oh, that's the election map when Trump won. Right? Like, how many red dots are on that map?
It looks like if you had taken a line down the center of the United States and painted one side red, that's practically what it looks like.
So every red dot is somebody that has distributed or downloaded child porn of a child who's under 12 years old in this country. But as Tebow says, listen, that's not the end of it. It gets far, far worse.
And there's over 111,000 of them just in the U.S. of the last 30 days. Sean, it's right here in our backyard. 55 to 85% are also hands-on offenders, and your average offender has 13 victims in their lifetime. You know, one of our hearts is to get the Renewed Hope Act passed through Congress. Right now, in victim identification officers at C3, there's 7 of them.
There's how many?
7. When we go back to those 50,000 boys and girls that are unknown in the ICSA database that we were talking about before, out of those 57,000, over 3,000 of them were infants or toddlers.
Oh, man.
And then we get into the fight against live streaming. And do you know the number one payer of live stream of boys and girls around the world?
U.S.
And in peer-to-peer sharing, we're third. China, Russia, America. Sorry, I do get fired up about it.
I do too, man.
Yeah, you should be fired up about it. And thank you for shining a light on it. Like, honestly, it is a dark corner of the internet that a light needs to be shown on. And Tebow's been doing that, and it seems like this FBI is going to be taking it seriously. But what he said kind of like plays into what Bongino said there a second ago. You're stopping generational crime, right? Statistically, if you're abused as a child, you are more likely to become an abuser of children at an older age. And if what Tebow says is correct, that out of those 111,000 people that have downloaded child porn in the United States in the last 30 days, 55 to 85% of them are hands-on offenders, and they're creating 13 victims over their lifetime. You understand kind of the gravity of the situation that Bongino's addressing when he says we need to stop the generational aspect of this. 13 victims per offender over their lifetime. That interview is really dark. I'll be perfectly honest with you, and it's a tough watch, but it's worth it. It's worth it, and to understand the gravity of the situation, that interview is worth the watch. So, shout out to Kash Patel and Dan Bongino for going after these child sex predators. We need to get a handle on this in this country. You're telling me that. If I posted medical misinformation during COVID, I could quickly be banned off the internet in 30 seconds, but yet we can't get a handle on the child porn in this country. I call BS. Hopefully this FBI does something about it. It sounds like they're gearing up to do it. Bongino saying, if you get a knock at the door, it's not Amazon. It's not Amazon. That kind of fear is going to be very powerful. And I hope a lot of these individuals feel that fear today. If not, I hope they get that knock at the door sooner rather than later and wood chipper feet first, if applicable. But they're going to be doing a lot of work there. Kash Patel said, again, like I said, one of the things that they were talking about is everything's a priority, right? Child sex predators are a priority. Homeland security, keeping terrorists out, foiling terrorist plots is a priority. Now, there are a lot of people that want them to investigate crimes of the administration past and the administration before the first Trump administration. They say that's a priority as well and something that they're going to be working on. Kash Patel went on record and said, we've actually found a lot of new information when it comes to the Trump-Russia investigation.
Well, Dan, throughout the Russia collusion story and the rest.
Look, I can speak to the folks that were in our seats, our predecessors, and they intentionally failed the American public by putting on the biggest DC deception game we've ever seen. They said the FBI was the most storied institution for law enforcement, and it was. And it will be again very soon. But when the likes of Comey and McCabe and Strzok and company came in here with the James Bakers of the world and intentionally lied to a federal court only to rig a presidential election by lying to the American public and using taxpayer dollars, likely illegally, to fund this entire operation, and then withhold exculpatory information from a federal court that I used to appear before to manhunt terrorists, that's what broke the FBI. And then when they were caught, they lied about it. And you and a few others like Dan and others were brave enough to cover it 6, 7, 8 years ago. And we're still talking about it today because as Congress is working rigorously with us, the Crossfire Hurricane documents are coming fast and hard. And they're being sent there unredacted so we can have full accountability. And that's how you restore what the trust that was lost to the American public when it comes to the FBI.
Yeah, but
and a lot of trust has been lost when it comes to the American public in the FBI. There's going to need to be a process to rebuild that trust. It does seem like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are well on their way to rebuilding that trust. But they say, so we're going to have new information when it comes to the Trump-Russia investigation on the way. And Kash Patel and Bongino also confirmed that they have troves of information on January 6th, and that's about to be sent to Congress. So we're going to find out a little bit more about that as well. They talked about this during that interview. Dan Bongino and Kash Patel confirming that the troves of information will be coming on January 6th. And, listen, the left will do what they do with that information as it becomes available. They'll memory hole it, right? Of course they will. But I guess the question is, why did the FBI ruin its reputation, right? Like, why? After everything the FBI has done for decades and decades and decades, why did it seem like they took their reputation, crumpled it up into a ball, and threw it in the trash under Obama and under Joe Biden? And Dan Bongino thinks he has the answer for why they did that. This is the last clip I sent to you, Mason. It is Maria Bartiromo asking Dan Bongino and Kash Patel why the FBI put its reputation at risk. And Bongino's answer is solid in true Bongino fashion. Why did the FBI put its reputation at risk?
I don't even understand why. Why did they do that? I mean, why put the FBI and its reputation at risk? What, it was just to win an election? Why?
Because they're weak. Because they're weak. I hate weak people. I can't stand it. They didn't have... we're on TV, so I already said BS once. But they didn't have the guts, the courage, or the character to do the right thing. They did the easy thing. Donald Trump became a convenient political football. They thought they could leverage. They thought they thought with the media on their side that they'd get away with it.
Yeah, they thought they would. They didn't have integrity. They were very, very weak. Something that I don't think you can say about this current iteration of the FBI. Now, that being said, I'm sure there's a lot of hangovers that they got to root out. There's a lot of stuff that they got to fix all at once. And I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm far more patient with Kash Patel and Dan Bongino than I am with Pam Bondi. And it's because, well, Pam Bondi gave us stunts in TV interviews. It seems like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are far more focused on actually putting the work in. And Lord willing, that work gets done fast. It's 10:51, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
All right, drivers got some road work, and it is slowing things down because the right lane is blocked. 40 eastbound at Oak Ridge. Wow, that's going to be over in East Tennessee, so unless you can get there here in about 45 minutes, I wouldn't worry about it. Closer to home, we got 24 eastbound before Bell Road. Got a crash over on the right shoulder. And all Cheatham County schools closing down for the rest of the day. There has been a threat, and officials don't want to take a chance. We'll tell you more at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I like the faraway traffic reports, personally. Because you can listen to us anywhere with the iHeartRadio app or the TuneIn app, Ken.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Listen.
That's right, brother.
Tell the people about Alabama traffic.
Let me check.
Let the people know about Georgia. What's going on in North Carolina, Ken?
We got to tell the people.
The people demand it.
The people demand to know.
That's the award-winning news anchor, Ken Weaver.
I got to looking at that. For some reason, I was thinking Kingston Springs, and then I see it, and that's Kingston, Tennessee.
Well, you know.
Yeah, it's
out there. Anecdotally speaking, we're the number one show for truckers, so there's a lot of people that are listening on their apps.
Yes, sir. Yes,
I guarantee you there's at least one guy in that area that said, my man.
Boy, had I not been listening to WTN,
wouldn't have even known. Did you guys see Donald Trump going on an absolute tirade on Truth Social late Saturday evening into Sunday morning?
I didn't see that. I was just getting logged on there.
Man, it was pretty good. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh, yeah?
Just simple things like calling for Comey's arrest.
Yeah.
He posted a picture of Obama, and he said, all roads lead to Obama. Read truth if you want military tribunals. So that was cool.
Boy, he was, wasn't he?
He posted a video about the Hillary and the Clinton body count.
Wow.
And then, just for good measure, he posted an AI video of himself performing Don't Stop Believing by Journey. Which is just it was just the best. It was just the best. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know which I was more impressed with, the video of Don't Stop Believing or the Hillary Clinton body count video, which was wild, given everything that's been coming to light lately. Donald Trump posting this video.
Remember John F. Kennedy Jr.? He was declared the front runner for the New York Senate seat back in 1999. Days later, his plane crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, and his rival, Hillary Clinton, was elected senator. Mary Mahoney was a Clinton White House intern. She knew enough of the inner workings of Bill's sexual advancements to be a star witness during the Clinton impeachment trials. She was brutally executed at a Starbucks she was managing in 1997. In 1993, White House counsel Vince Foster was found dead in Fort Marcy Park near D.C. He supposedly killed himself, and among a lengthy list of potential foul play, the bullet was never found.
That's just a coincidence. Stop asking questions. What are you worried about? What? It's all good, right? It's no big deal. So the bullet was never found in a suicide. Okay. That's not a big deal. So whatever, right? That doesn't mean anything.
Then there's James McDougal, a key witness for White House prosecutors. He was serving his 3-year sentence for bank fraud at the Fort Worth Federal Medical Center in Texas. And just before he was to give a testimony before the grand jury, McDougal suffered a heart attack in solitary confinement.
Well, he was probably nervous. He's probably just a little nervous.
In 2015, Walter Scheib, a White House chef hired under Bill Clinton, joined the list. His body was found at the bottom of a river, nearly 2 miles from the base of the trail he was reportedly hiking.
It was a swimming accident, clearly. Yeah, that's what Donald Trump was doing late night. Posting the Hillary Clinton body count video. The video Hillary Clinton does not want you to see. If you want to watch the whole thing, it's been reposted on my X account. Retruthed it too. At Chris Hand on air on both of those platforms. But Trump was in rare form in a social media. What would you call it? S posting. He was S posting.
His X posting.
He was S posting.
Dude, he was probably up late because he's trying to get reacquainted with this time zone.
You're probably right.
So he was probably up all night and just thought, oh, I like that.
Yep. Read truth. My favorite, though, was when he posted the picture of Obama. It said, all roads lead to Obama. Read truth if you want military tribunals. So, sign me up. Sign me up. Especially after we've been learning about Joe Biden. He wasn't there. I mean, he was there, but he wasn't there. You know what I mean? He wasn't there at all.
Ooh.
And then once that got out, they broke the emergency glass and whipped out the cancer diagnosis conveniently. Very convenient. It's 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. On the way, Donald Trump sat down with Brett Baer for a lengthy interview. They aired it over the weekend. I got the highlights for you next on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Middle Tennessee, all Cheatham County schools are closing down for the rest of the day due to a threat. Officials say they're working with the Tennessee Office of Homeland Security and local law enforcement to determine the validity of this threat. No word on exactly what that threat might be, but Cheatham County schools close the rest of the day. At least 28 people are dead after the widespread outbreak of severe weather on Friday. 19 of those killed in Kentucky, and specifically Laurel County, about 3 hours northeast of Nashville. National Weather Service says it was an outbreak of EF3 tornadoes. Cleanup's now underway. This woman telling ABC News she and her husband survived the tornado that destroyed their home.
All of this is stuff, and it looks really, really bad. But we are not like a lot of our neighbors and loved ones here that are in hospitals and their families are at the funeral homes and stuff. My heart just breaks for them.
Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear declaring a state of emergency. As for today, we're expecting some thunderstorms. In fact, we've got some right now in the neighborhood. More severe weather is potentially the case for tomorrow. Stefano DiPietro tells us these will be afternoon storms. Tomorrow will be more severe than today. Keep it here on WTN for all the latest. The White House says it expects Republicans will back the budget bill that would expand the 2017 Trump tax cuts and enact many of the president's energy and border priorities. The so-called Big Beautiful Bill clearing the House Budget Committee last night with GOP opponents biting their tongues and abstaining. Here's ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy.
The 4 Republicans on the House Budget Committee who voted present are conservatives who complain the measure doesn't claw back enough climate subsidies and sets new Medicaid work requirements too far into the future. House Speaker Mike Johnson vows to continue tweaking the bill. He'll also need to do more to win the support of moderates who want a full restoration of the state and local tax deduction. Johnson hopes the House will pass the bill by the end of the week.
President Trump's congratulated House Republicans after they worked late into the night to advance that big, beautiful bill that makes the 2017 tax cuts permanent, allocates more than $46 billion for the border wall and $4 billion for more border agents and customs officers. And former President Joe Biden has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer that has metastasized to his bones. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:06, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Hey, how are you? Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. The big story of the day, Joe Biden has cancer. The questions that we ask is, how long did they know? It's a very aggressive form of prostate cancer. If he was taking the regular blood test that he would be taking at his age, they would have been able to know a lot sooner. And a lot of people are raising many questions about this. Personally, I think that they're just using this as an opportunity to deflect from what happened with the release of the Robert Hur tapes. It's an opportunity for them to deflect who was running the country behind the scenes. It doesn't seem like we had a president sitting there during that entire term, which is shocking and a bit frightening, to be perfectly honest with you. J.D. Vance was asked about this aboard Air Force One moments ago.
We wish the best for the former president's health. And, it sounds pretty serious, but hopefully he makes the right recovery. Like I will say, whether the right time to have this conversation is now or at some point in the future, we really do need to be honest about whether the former president was capable of doing the job. And that's no, that you can separate the desire for him to have the right health outcome with the recognition that whether it was doctors or whether there were staffers around the former president, I don't think he was able to do a good job for the American people. And that's not politics. That's not because I disagreed with him on policy. That's because I don't think that he was in good enough health. In some ways, I blame him less than I blame the people around him. And why didn't the American people have a better sense of his health picture? Why didn't the American people have more accurate information about what he was actually dealing with? This is serious stuff. And this is the guy who carries around the nuclear football for the world's largest nuclear arsenal. This is not child's play, and we can pray for good health, but also recognize that if you're not in good enough health to do the job, you shouldn't be doing the job.
Amen. Listen. I hope that the cancer doesn't take him out. Sure. But what was happening behind the scenes? What was happening behind the scenes? Also, I mean, if we now know that Joe Biden wasn't cognitively functioning enough to give an interview with Robert Hur or be charged for the mishandling of classified documents, was he competent enough to, I don't know, appoint Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, right? Is that a reasonable? Only the president can appoint a Supreme Court justice. So was he all there when he appointed her? What about when he gave all the pardons out to Anthony Fauci and his entire family and all the rest, the Liz Cheneys of the world? Was he cognitively there and understanding what he was doing? These are questions that we have to ask, and these are questions that I hope don't get swept under the rug as this story progresses. Yet you understand that the mainstream media is going to try and do just that. We had a president that couldn't do a damn thing. Currently now, we have a president that's doing a lot, and he's done more in his first 100-plus days than Joe Biden did in 4 years. He sat down with Bret Baier to give an interview on the progress from that Middle East trip Donald Trump did, and the interview was fantastic. Bret Baier was okay, I'll be honest with you. Bret's okay. But Trump was talking about the Middle East and the progress he made on that trip. This is Donald Trump and Bret Baier.
Well, I always considered it to be a very important region. I know all three leaders, as you could see, very well. In all three cases, I knew them long before I ran for politics, which is sort of something. It makes it a little bit more special. They're great people. The three of them, they're great people.
Donald Trump on the leaders of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, talking about the relationship that he has with them. You can see that relationship. I mean, you saw it when Trump got the hero's welcome, the royalty welcome everywhere he went. These countries were ecstatic to have President Trump there. In Qatar's case, it was the first time a sitting president had ever visited. They were ecstatic, and they invested a lot of money in the United States based off of this trip.
And it's a great region, but it was never treated properly, and it was certainly not treated well by Biden, who didn't know he was alive, frankly, so, you can understand that. But
yeah, that's been more confirmed today. He had no idea.
He was not, they didn't treat this group well, and I think they were being, and I guess because you've reported on it, they were being coaxed very strongly by China, because that solves China's fuel problem forever. And It wasn't their preference, but they were on their way. They were going to China, and that was going to be their parent. And that's not happening anymore.
You think you've shifted? That's not happening anymore. They're not looking to China anymore. There's a lot of countries that were looking towards China, be it in Africa, be it in the Middle East. Said, hey, maybe this is the route we go, especially with an incompetent, doddering old man like Joe Biden inside the White House who could barely handle a telephone, let alone the nuclear codes. Unbelievable. Yeah, no, things have changed drastically. And we understand that these countries wouldn't be investing this money without Donald Trump being in office. Yet here we are. By the grace of God, Donald Trump is just for starters, still alive after what happened to him over the summer. But now he's won, and he's changing this country for the better.
Shifted the paradigm on that?
No, I don't think. I know. We are as close. We're closer now to them than ever before. You could see the relationship. You could get a body expert and pay them a lot of money, and they could tell you, no, there's just a relationship that I have with all three that's just, very extraordinary. I was even saying, we're like so friendly. Not a normal situation where you're okay with a leader or whatever. But this is a very important region. This is the energy capital of the world. They have, massive amounts of energy and other things. They've invested wisely. And they're looking to do other things. I guess in Saudi Arabia, they said in another couple of years, there'll be more than 50% other businesses represent more than 50% of the take. And it's pretty amazing what all of them have done.
I mean, that trip in and of itself has been pretty amazing to watch. Just the record amount of investments, the way they received the president, it was really something to be seen. Now, there have been rumors that he may have upset some allies with this trip. One in particular, Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel. And there's been rumors that behind the scene, Trump was essentially said, you know what, screw off. I'm going to do what I need to do. This is America first. That's at least what I've heard. Brett Baer asked Donald Trump about his current relationship with the Prime Minister of Israel. And he said, are you frustrated at all with the Prime Minister of Israel? And Trump said, no, not at all.
Are you frustrated at all with Prime Minister Netanyahu?
No, look, he's got a tough situation. You have to remember there was an October 7th that everyone forgets. It was one of the most violent days in the history of the world, not the Middle East, the world, when you look at the tapes. And the tapes are there for everyone to see. So he has that problem. That problem should have never happened. Now, if I were president, that problem wouldn't have happened because Iran had no money. They were stone cold broke.
Yep, they were. A lot of these problems that we're currently facing wouldn't have happened with Donald Trump in the White House, and we can go down the line. Russia, Ukraine, the inflation crisis, Iran being able to fund these terrorist groups like Hamas. I mean, you can go on and on and on. Yet now with Donald Trump back in office, we're seeing record amounts of investment, especially from this region of the world. And Brett Baer asked him about that investment that's coming in and what that means to Donald Trump.
Massive amount of business investment coming back to the U.S.
Right.
And they're still adding it up
Which,
in
by
each
the way,
country.
most importantly, that's why I came here. I didn't come here to say, gee, you guys are rich and you have a lot of oil. They have a lot of money, and I want them to spend the money in the United States. And we set records. There's never been a trip like this by any president or anybody ever before. And I'd ask them, how about doubling it up? Okay. Oh, I should have asked for more because they said, okay. They're good people and they love our country. And look, they have great danger because of Iran. That's their primary danger. And that makes them vulnerable. But I don't see them as being vulnerable because I think we have the greatest military in the world. And we're adding to it now at levels that nobody's ever seen. We're going to build the Iron Dome. We deserve an Iron Dome. See, we call it two names. So I was going to call it the Iron Dome because that's the name everyone has heard of for years. But to me, it was old-fashioned. So we changed it recently to the Golden Dome.
The Golden Dome. We're getting a Golden Dome, boys.
The beautiful Golden Dome. And
matches
Ronald
the golden
Reagan,
age.
Ronald Reagan wanted that many years ago, and he was right, except you didn't have anywhere near the technology.
Didn't they laugh like Ronald Reagan out of the room when he brought that up? Yeah. It was too Star Wars for them. Guy was ahead of his time. Donald Trump wants an Iron Dome a la Israel. The conversation did move back to Israel and Gaza, and Donald Trump had this to say about the people of Gaza. And this is, again, one of President Trump's strengths when it comes to foreign policy, the way he humanizes the enemy. You can dehumanize and you can take the humanity out and make it a lot easier to make the killing agreeable. Donald Trump always humanizes, and I think it's one of his greatest strengths.
I think Iran is right now the big problem. That's also a problem. Hamas is big, and we want to take care of the people. Look, people are starving. You know, you see what's going on right now. People are starving. One of the things that one of the three great leaders that I saw 2 nights ago said to me, please help the people, the Palestinians. I said, other than the obvious, what do you mean by that? He said, they're starving. And he meant it with his heart. They're starving. So I've already started working on that. It's a deep problem, but we'll get it solved. And a very immediate and a very big problem is, you know, I'm so proud of what we were able to do with India and with Pakistan. Well, it's a potential problem like that we have here. I'll get it solved, and one way or the other I'll get it solved. It's either going to be done nicely or it's going to be done violently. And I 99.9% want to do it nicely if we can.
You know, he kind of repeated that message a couple times, talking about we can do it nicely or we can do it violently. And he said the same line of messaging to Iran. But they asked, Bear asked him, you know, with Gaza, are these other countries that you visited going to be helping you with this situation, with the rebuild, with the relocation, all of the stuff that encompasses what's going on in Gaza? And Trump said, yeah, I think so.
And you think the Israel-Hamas, the situation in Gaza is going to come to an end soon?
Gaza's a nasty place. It's been that way for years. I think it should become a free zone. You know, freedom. I call it a freedom zone. It should become a freedom zone. It doesn't work. Every 10 years they go back. They have Hamas.
Yep.
Everybody's being killed all over the place. I mean, you ever see? You talk about crime stats. It's a nasty place.
Are these people, these countries that you were just visiting, are they going to have to be a part of the solution?
Well, they would be. They would be. I spoke to all three of them. They would absolutely be. I mean, they're really rich and really, really, really even more than rich. They're good people, and they would help. And so money's not even the problem.
Well, you got to get countries to say yes. To take them.
Look, these are people that want to be in the Middle East. They really want to be in the Middle East. They love the Middle East. I see that. There's a spirit for the Middle East. They didn't have to go to Sweden, Germany, these different countries. They could have been home in the Middle East if somebody had the brains to build beautiful communities. You know, 1.9 million is a lot of people, but it's not a lot of people, relatively.
You know, I love the way he says it. They didn't have to go to Germany and Switzerland. We could have found them places in the Middle East, and he's alluding to the migration crisis that had been created via the Democrats. You know, for all the chaos that has been installed in the Middle East, you had millions of people flooding up into Europe. So we could have found a spot for them in the Middle East. We could have, but the people that have been running these countries have been ridiculously dumb. Donald Trump doesn't want to play by the same rules. And he's slowly but surely reinventing things, and especially our foreign policy in the Middle East. He had a lot more to say about Iran and about the new leadership in Syria, which I'll bring you when we get back. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, drivers still dealing with the crash on the on-ramp, right shoulder blocked in Antioch, 24 eastbound. This is going to be the on-ramp from Haywood Lane. And Cheatham County has closed its schools for the rest of the day due to a threat. We'll get you latest on that and other top stories at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. It's 11:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, and Instagram. All of them are the same, at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I do appreciate it when you do. Donald Trump sat down with Brett Baer to give a lengthy interview on a number of topics. Mostly it was revolving around his Middle East trip, which was, by all accounts, even according to some Democrats, wildly successful. But he had this to say, a message to send to the leaders of Iran.
So how do you get to a solution there?
Oh, we'll get 100%.
You think so?
Well, we're going to have a solution one way or the other. It's either going to be violent or not violent. And
it's either going to be violent or not violent. It's up to you. It's kind of the same message that he had for Gaza. Well, we could do it. We could do it one of two ways. I would prefer to do it peacefully, but if you prefer violence, we can bring violence. Peace through strength. That's what you're witnessing. This is peace through strength.
And I far prefer nonviolent. I know so many Iranians from New York, from Washington, from a different place. These are great people. You have to view them as people.
Again, Donald Trump humanizing the enemy. This is how you create a lasting peace. Look at them as people. Look at them as people. A lot of the Iranians are just regular people, just going about their day. Can we do this in a peaceful way? Donald Trump wants to.
And I don't want it to be a violent thing, but they're not going to have a nuclear weapon.
But you said it was close the other day. You said it was close to a deal.
I think it's close. I think,
so does that mean that they're going to
enrich
enrich at any level, like a civilian level?
No, I think they want to make a deal. You say to yourself, they have massive oil, by the way. They have oil that lasts for 300 years. They have a lot of oil. People don't realize they're one of the biggest in the world. And it's very good oil, meaning it's pure, perfect stuff. They don't have to, spend a fortune on gases and energy in order to melt the rock and everything. They have pure, unadulterated, good oil. And you say, why does somebody that has that kind of oil, other than being politically correct, but when you have unlimited amounts of oil and gas, why are you putting up, why do you need civil nuclear?
It's a good question. It's a good question. So they're referring to the reports that NBC News put out where you had a top Iranian official say that they're ready to talk with Donald Trump and they'll stop enriching uranium unless they, as long as they can do it at a civil level for energy, for nuclear reactors. And Trump here is saying, well, why do you need that exactly when you're sitting on buckets upon buckets of good, pure, clean oil? Sounds like that's kind of going to be a deal breaker for Donald Trump. And if you don't need it, you don't need it. I do still think, though, that Iran is going to be willing to come to the table because they know what's on the other side of saying no to a deal with Donald Trump.
I just don't see it.
But, are you going to call for it all?
And I think nuclear is fine. I think nuclear is fine for civil if you have a country with no oil. But if you're sitting on one of the largest piles of oil in the world, why are you talking about putting up nuclear civil? I call it nuclear civil.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It would make sense for one reason. You're working towards a nuclear bomb. And maybe you don't work on it while Trump is in office, but maybe you get back to it if and when a Democrat returns to power. But Trump is saying that's a no. That's a no. You're sitting on all this oil. Sorry. It's time to make a deal, though, and Donald Trump wants to make a deal. He also talked about how he lifted sanctions on Syria, and he said that he did that to give them a chance to rebuild after all the turmoil and chaos that has been going on there for, decades. This is Donald Trump on meeting with the Syrian president and ending their sanctions.
Now when you get to Syria, so I did something with Syria because the future king, and you have a wonderful king right now, he's an older man. He's also a friend of mine, and he's 100% sharp. He's great, and he's got a great son, the Crown Prince, and he has actually many titles. He's Prime Minister, he's Crown Prince, and he's doing a great job running it. But he called me and he spoke to me, and he said, could you do me a favor? Could you, and do the world a favor, could you take the sanctions off Syria? Because the only way they're going to have a chance, the sanctions are crippling, really biting. Well, that's what I did with Iran, and they came to a point where they were bust. Could you take the sanctions off? I hadn't thought about it much, and he said it in a way that was, he's got a great heart. He said, they can't make it with those sanctions. I said, let's give them a chance. I met the leader. I met the new leader, and handsome guy, by the way, young, handsome. And I said, you have quite a past. Got a tough past. But when you think about it, are you going to put a choir boy in that position? I don't think so.
I love that. So, yeah, he does. Former jihadi, current jihadi, depending on who you ask. This new president of Syria said, but you're gonna put a choir boy in that position? No. So he was asked by a leader, can you please remove the sanctions? Give them a chance. Give them a chance to rebuild. Donald Trump says he's going to give him that chance.
It's going to be a little bit tough. It's a tough part of the world.
So you're willing to give him a shot?
The word they say, it's a nasty neighborhood. It's a rough neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I thought he was really, I thought he was terrific. He was so thankful about the sanctions because he knew he's not going to be able to bust through.
I mean, this is how you create relationships, and this is how you create lasting peace and prosperity in a region. Donald Trump has been putting on a masterclass in the Middle East, and all foreign leaders should look at this and take note. It's 11:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes, and right now in Middle Tennessee, Cheatham County schools are closed for the rest of the day due to a threat. I'm talking about all Cheatham County schools. The district says on its Facebook page the decision was made out of an abundance of caution, and they are working with the Tennessee Office of Homeland Security and local law enforcement to determine the validity of the threat, and they'll provide more details as they become available. In Ohio,
our hearts go out to the family and to all those who have been affected by this tragedy.
That's Mayor Danny Sanchez of Fremont, Ohio. He says 2 women are dead, a 14-month-old girl hospitalized, and a 5-year-old missing after a train hit pedestrians on a bridge last night.
We are focused on the recovery efforts of a 5-year-old child who is still missing in the Sandusky River.
Sanchez says it's believed the family was there for a fishing trip. He doesn't know if they were fishing at the time. He says there are clearly marked no trespassing signs there.
Boats from many different law enforcement agencies and first responding agencies are currently conducting the search in the Sandusky River.
Yeah, victims believed to be from Fort Wayne, Indiana. He says there were people there who spoke English. Another close call at a major U.S. airport, this one at New York's LaGuardia Airport, happening just days before the Memorial Day travel rush. A Republic Airways plane forced to abort takeoff with a United flight taxiing on the same runway. Here's Gio Benitez.
The 2 planes coming shockingly close to each other. Before the Republic Airways flight reduced speed, the planes were just 0.27 miles away from each other, according to Flight Radar 24.
Victor 4736, sorry about that. I thought United had cleared well before that.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, and you can still save some big money from Busy Bee. See, TVA rebates have been extended, so if you're thinking about getting a new mini split system, now's the time. Get an $800 rebate on qualifying 17 SEER 2 or higher systems, and depending on credit, you could be looking at 12 months with no payments and no interest. Busy Bee's also giving you $50 back rebates on spring and fall AC tune-ups. That's $100 back a year, which will basically pay for your Beehive Club membership. Now, here's the big piece of news. Listen up. If you've been looking for a gig, Busy Bee's hiring. They're actually hosting a hiring open house on May 31st from 10 to 2. So if you've got 3 or more years of experience in plumbing or HVAC, service, or install, they want to meet you. And the pay is ranging from $30 to $39 an hour, healthcare, PTO, federal holidays, even your birthday off. And if you're just getting started in the trades, you're welcome to. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling wants to talk to you. So bring the family and check it out. That's their hiring open house on Saturday, May 31st from 10 to 2. Courtesy of Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Give them a call today, 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833. Online at busybeehvac.com. It's 11:38 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. We love those guys. BetterWater.com for your water filtration system. The big story of the day, Joe Biden has prostate cancer, a rather aggressive form of prostate cancer, and they just found it. They just found it. It's a shame they couldn't have caught it sooner.
Allegedly.
That's what they want you to believe. That's what they want you to believe. This is just a coincidence. We had no idea. No idea. When
you sure about that?
Exactly. When White House doctors were saying that Joe Biden is fit to serve, they had no idea. Now, a lot of people are pointing to this diagnosis and saying they're just trying to get you off the scent of who was really running the White House during the Biden administration, because it clearly wasn't Joe. Clearly. He was a doddering old man with memory issues that was going to be too sympathetic to a jury to ever charge in the classified documents case. A lot of people were very angry about that. Robert Hur adding that political language to his report. Yet we heard the tapes. The Robert Hur tapes have leaked, and Joe Biden couldn't remember when his son died. And that's, listen, that's heartbreaking. You know, the elderly dealing with Alzheimer's and cognitive decline, and whatever the case may be. Yeah, that stinks. That stinks. But the issue here is the majority of individuals who deal with that kind of cognitive decline aren't the sitting president of the United States. So somebody must have known something along the way. And nobody said a damn thing. This is a crime and a monumental cover-up. And make no mistake about it, this is a cover-up. And I'm of the opinion that they've been sitting on this cancer diagnosis so that way they could break glass in case of emergency and distract you from whatever the topic of the day may be. Dr. Vin Gupta joined Morning Joe on MSNBC, and he said there's some interesting things about these PSA blood tests that Joe Biden would have been taking given he was of the age to take these tests, which would have diagnosed that prostate cancer very early on.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, I think 100%. And, did they do a digital rectal exam to assess his prostate? Again, typically that's done in the presence of symptoms. To your point, he's the leader of the free world. Did they do it and not characterize it? It's hard to know. We're speculating here. I would say in an abundance of caution, probably be holistic and comprehensive. That would make sense. It is interesting to note that President Trump's, President Obama's, and President Bush II, in their most recent physicals, in their terms of office, obviously 2025 for President Trump, did comment on their PSA levels. And so they got screened while in office, and they commented on it. It's not easy to access the most recent ones from President Biden. You can read summary articles. I couldn't access it on the archive site on the White House just before I came on. But according to those that were able to, there is not a report of a PSA test on the most recent physical that was read out for President Biden's last year in office. And so it's to say what was done, what was not done. You and I would be speculating, but the other three most recent occupants of the White House had it drawn, and it was reported out.
Oh, so Bush, Obama, and Trump all had those tests done, and they were available for everybody to see on their medical report. Yet Biden, we have no idea. That wasn't on the report. What a coincidence. I must be a conspiracy theorist for speculating that they knew about this for a long time. I'm not the only conspiracy theorist. Laura Loomer is taking a victory lap today because she said that she reported on this back in the summer of 2024, which she did. She said Joe Biden was terminally ill. You remember that. I mean, right after he had dropped out of the White House, he had his brother released a statement saying, we're looking forward to spending as much time with Joe that we have left after dropping out of the presidential race. Do you remember this? This was from CBS. It was like in the day after Joe Biden made a stunning, heroic, and brave move to drop out of the White House.
CBS News had a brief conversation with Frank Biden, one of President Biden's two younger brothers, and here's what he told us. He said, I'm incredibly proud of my brother. Selfishly, I will have him back to enjoy whatever time we have left.
Now, at the time, you could kind of write that off and say, well, listen, he's in his 80s. That could mean anything. We just want to hang out during the sunset of our lives and whatever. But now, given the new information that we have on the cancer diagnosis, it's like, okay, well, did the family know? And if the family knew, who else knew? Did the White House staff know? Did the aides know? Did the cabinet members know? Did the administration know? Who else knew? Because it does certainly seem like individuals knew about this cancer diagnosis. Hell, in 2022, Biden was at giving a press conference, and he said that he had cancer, which, again, at the time, we just kind of chalked up as another Biden gaffe. Yet, given the new information that's been presented to us, this comment raises some questions. This is from 2022.
And because it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
That's why I and so many other people I grew up with have cancer. Huh. That's an interesting slip of the tongue. Again, at the time in 2022, knowing what we know about Joe Biden, a lot of us heard that comment and said, he's misspoken again, right? What did he say? The most important word in democracy is true national pressure. You know what I mean? So who knows when Joe Biden speaks what he's actually saying. But given the information that we have today, well, that comment is a little bit more suspect, is it not?
That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
Oh. That's why I and so many other people I grew up with have cancer. Isn't that interesting? I find it interesting. And so I want to know who knew and how long were you sitting on this? Honestly, were you waiting for this moment when the Robert Hur tapes leaked and we saw how bad Joe Biden is that you decided, that's the emergency, boys, break the glass, drop the cancer diagnosis. Let's change the narrative and let's change the talking points. It seems that way to me, man. It really does. It seems like they've been sitting on this. Because I think the question is, especially in the light of the Robert Hur tapes, is who is running the White House? And if it wasn't Joe Biden, what does that mean for the decisions, and I'm using air quotes, the decisions Joe Biden made? Were they really Joe's decisions? When he, nominated Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court, was he there? Was he all there to make that appointment? What about when he pardoned Fauci or his entire family? Was he was he on the up and up? Was he good to make those decisions? It doesn't seem like he was. And now House Republicans are planning to interview the staffers who controlled the auto pen during the Biden administration. James Comer was talking with Jason Chaffetz about this on Fox News over the weekend.
You are going and looking at who is controlling this auto pen. Because Joe Biden, he's demonstrating that he doesn't have all the cognitive capabilities they had. That interview was from 2023.
Yeah, that's hard evidence. Early into President Biden's term as president, it clearly shows that he was in significant mental decline.
He does in these Robert Hur tapes. Now, this interview was recorded on Friday. So this is before the cancer diagnosis leaked out. And I'm just here to tell you, I truly believe that there was a calculated effort to release the cancer diagnosis because they've been sitting on it because they wanted to change the talking points. Because on Friday, the talking points were, okay, now we really know beyond a shadow of a doubt just how bad Joe Biden was. In the Robert Hur tapes, he said, well, it was 2017, 2018, and you got to remember that time was tough because Bo was either deployed or dying. And it's like, no, sir, that was 2015 when Bo died. So he was neither. We know how bad he was. And maybe somebody in the Democrat establishment said, that's it. We got to drop the cancer diagnosis to change the conversation, because on Friday the conversation was, we need to investigate whoever was in control of that auto pen.
It questions who was actually making the decisions.
Yep.
So what we found is not just with the pardons he issued, but many of the executive orders that the courts are now using to Trump-proof many of the executive orders that President Trump is trying to implement to make government more efficient. Many of these executive orders, as well as the pardons of Biden's entire family as a result of our investigation, these were all signed with the auto pen. And clearly from that interview, which was many, many months prior to the heavy use of the auto pen, Joe Biden wasn't capable of making decisions. He wasn't coherent. We think we've identified who the staffers are. Jason, you all have done great work with that over at Heritage Oversight. We're going to bring everyone that we believe was involved in any role in the use of the auto pen. We're going to invite them to come in for a transcribed interview. If they want, then they will receive a subpoena and they will have a full-blown deposition. But we want to find out who was actually making the decisions in the White House during the last 9 months of the Biden administration when he was clearly in mental decline.
I mean, listen, this is the question that deserves to be answered, and I'll be damned if this cancer diagnosis gets in the way of it. I hope the Republicans don't slow down and they keep their foot on the gas, because I'm sorry, like, it stinks that you have cancer, and I hope that you can recover, because I'd rather see you in a courtroom personally. I'd rather see you held accountable personally. But to act like, oh no, now he has a cancer diagnosis, so we have to handle him with kid gloves. No. Nope. don't give a damn, to be perfectly honest with you. The Democrats didn't give a damn about Laken Riley or Jocelyn Nungaray or Rachel Marin or the countless others who had been affected by Joe Biden's border policy. So no, I don't really tend to care much about the cancer diagnosis. I hope he recovers. I do. But I'm not going to let that get in the way of what needs to be done. Joe Biden didn't care enough for the soldiers lost at Abbey Gate to not check his watch when they returned home. So no, I don't really have a lot of soft spaces in my heart for Joe Biden today as he has a cancer diagnosis. I'm sorry, but I don't. You let the border invasion happen unchecked. I mean, quite the opposite. You facilitated it. You didn't just sit on your hands and cancel Trump's executive orders. You actively sued states that were trying to make it more secure. You flew people in the dead of night that made our communities less safe. And now we're just supposed to forget all that because of a cancer diagnosis? No, I won't. And I hope you don't forget either. It's 11:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 11:55 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. I'll be honest with you. Chad comes in here, and he says that he has a sunburn.
Horrible sunburn on my leg.
And I felt more empathy for Chad in his sunburn than I felt for Joe Biden in his cancer diagnosis.
Actually, I think you feel empathy as a Christian. You don't want anything bad, but this isn't about Joe. I think that's where everything needs to be separated. This is about everybody around Joe who treated Joe as a cash cow, as a way to protect themselves, as a way to run things, and lying to the people. This was not about Joe. I mean, we can hold two thoughts at once. We're allowed to.
Yeah, but Jill Biden should be brought up on elder abuse charges.
Dr. Jill.
Dr. Jill.
Not a licensed medical professional.
So are you...
If she had a dangling... Oh, if your ampersand was in the wrong place, she would have totally come out and said something.
I just think Joe Biden's a trash human being. So it's like really hard for me to feel bad for him.
I don't think I just think he's a politician. Like everybody else is a politician.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think he's a horrible person. I just
really?
Think,
oh, I completely disagree.
I think there's a lot.
In Ashley Biden's diary, when she said that she was taking inappropriate showers with her dad until she was way too old of an age.
Where is that diary, by the way?
James O'Keefe had it.
Well, where is it now?
I'm not sure.
Did he give it to the FBI?
Probably. But I think that's a horrible.
Well, if all
indictment.
that was true, of course it's horrible. But again, this deal there's a lot of stuff that flew around about Trump and about every politician now.
Hunter Biden had him saved in his phone as pedo Pete. That's not
my coke dealer.
Listen, I mean, but why would you save your dad as that?
Oh no, that's pretty interesting. Well, I don't know.
It's a little suspicious.
That would be
all the kids sniffing.
The hair sniffing was the weirdest thing.
There isn't for a second a bone in me that thinks that Joe Biden was a decent person.
No, I just think he's a politician. I mean, if he did all those things, he's a horrible person, regardless if he's a politician or not. I still don't wish him any ill will. No, but I can say, to me, the thing is you guys lied. How many knew? How many didn't know? How many were absolutely lied to in such a way?
And now it's coming out that the test that would have shown that he had prostate cancer was on Bush's...
Trump and Obama.
All of their health reports, but it was mysteriously absent from Biden's.
You remember when Trump got a colonoscopy and he wouldn't get put to sleep because they didn't want to give the power over to Pence? Took one for the team.
We'll do it live.
That's basically what he said. I'll be fine. Grin and bear it. But I just all of these things that surrounded him, these people that surrounded him, that their hands were out in one way and their money was in his pocket in the other way, and it's Uncle Sam's pocket.
Yep.
It's what our politicians have become across the board, right and left, is a giant grift for everybody who can get something, and it is ridiculous. This is not what our founding fathers wanted.
No, but I mean, you can rail against the grift. I think Joe Biden was a bit different.
Oh, he's definitely had some. There was a lot of issues there.
He was a level above, and now with all the cognitive declines, it's like, okay, Ketanji Brown Jackson, should that appointment stand? If you were a doddering old fool, only the president can appoint Supreme Court justices, and you couldn't be trusted to know when your son died. Should you be trusted to appoint a Supreme Court justice? What about the pardons? The pardons of the family members.
Pardons, I think, are going to be looked at.
It has to be looked at.
But you know what? Though, if I'm Trump, I'm not looking at any of those pardons.
Well, Trump also has to make it seem like he doesn't have his finger on the scale and allow the Department of Justice
if I'm Trump, I'm not looking at him either, because that way it gives me leeway and anybody else forward to going back to Mark Rich back in the day with Clinton.
Yeah, I just
write $1 million. Here's a free pardon.
I think what we've seen with Biden is a level above any of the other politicians.
So. Well, I don't know. I mean, Nancy made that $140 million. That's good money if you can get it. How about all that stuff? I mean, they're all of them are coming. They're coming in with nothing and they're leaving with a whole bunch if they ever leave.
Yep. There was only one president that left the office with less net worth than he went in.
Yeah, but he's got a lot more now.
It was Trump.
So I mean, that's just it.
But he had 4 years in the private sector.
He did,
that's where he made that.
But let's be real. The presidency is not a horrible place to sit. But normally you make money afterwards, and you go out and you give your $100,000 speech. Nobody's giving $100,000 a speech.
Definitely not to Biden right now.
No, God, no.
How much did you pay to listen to Joe Biden speak?
None. I don't pay to listen to any of them. If they came here now, I'd leave.
Chad's in next. It's 12 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.